Just a quick reminder that if you want to support Concepts and Legends, please remember to like and subscribe. And you can also show your support by using our TCG affiliate link for any and all of your Magic needs by using the link you see here or below in the description. Any and all help is greatly appreciated and helps us bring you more videos like the one that is starting right now. Hello, my little beacons of unrest. Today's interview subject has the honor of having his art featured on the #1 ranking commander of all time. Do you know who that commander is? If you do, record yourself saying who you think it is, and the first correct answer will win a free copy of that card, and it will be featured on an upcoming episode. Today's artist interview is with Joseph Meehan, who kindly took a few minutes out of his day, even though he's just welcomed his second child into the world, to speak with me. So let's not waste his time, or yours, and let's get to it. Just first off, congratulations on the fact that you are a new father twice times over.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I'll try to be quick about it because I know that you got stuff that's coming up with the new bebe. But basically, could you give us like a little bit about your background as far as how you got started into art and what you did for your bachelor's in fine arts?
Yeah, sure. Well, how I got started, I come from a artistic family. My dad is an illustrator and a fine artist. My mom's an art director at an advertising agency, and her mother painted, and my grandfather on my father's side was a cartoonist. So I come from a long line of artists, and there's a lot of artists in the family currently. So
That's awesome.
I've been drawing my whole life,
Yeah.
And what was the other part of the question?
So I think I got this correctly. You got your bachelor's of fine arts in toy design?
Yeah, that's right. Toy design.
Where did you go? When did you make the shift to illustration from toy design and in that space?
I've always been an illustrator, really. But when I was in high school, I didn't have much direction in terms of like where I was going to go to college, and I was kind of disinterested. So my mom basically decided like, this is a good program at FIT, the toy design program. It's cool. It's interesting. It is a very good program, by the way, and I'm glad I did it. You're going to go here. And I said, okay, that sounds good to me. Sounds interesting. They did not want me to become an illustrator.
Really?
Because they were worried that there wasn't enough work out there. They don't know anything about fantasy illustration. So, even though they're both in the art, they thought that there's no way you could make a living, doing fantasy illustration, drawing dragons, and, but whatever. I mean, I thought they were right too. I didn't know, you know what I mean? So I went into toy design, and it's a very good program. Like I said, it was a lot of fun, and it got me a job at Mattel, which is an excellent place to work.
And with your job working at Mattel, is that how you managed to get in with, say, like other companies that led you to Wizards of the Coast?
Yes. I found out that Wizards of the Coast does meetings, face-to-face meetings with artists at Comic-Con. Mattel has a huge booth at Comic-Con every year. And so I just said, can I go to Comic-Con? And they gave me a pass. And that's one of the benefits of working at a Fortune 500 company. They just you ask them for things and they just hook you up.
Yeah, hook you up. Like, here's a pass.
Yeah. And so I went to Comic-Con and I met with the people at, I met with the Wizards of the Coast art directors. They liked my stuff. And then after that, I kept sending them stuff. They didn't give me a card like right away. 8 months later, I got my first card, which was pretty quick. Actually.
Yeah.
No complaints about that.
Do you remember what card that was?
Yeah, it was for it was for Tarkir or Takrir or whatever it was.
Tarkir, yeah.
Tarkir, yeah. Tarkir, it was. I got 2 cards. One was Lightning Berserker, and the other one, Champion of something or other. It was like a dog woman, like charging with a sword, like this.
I know which. We will have it posted. I'm blanking on the name of it too, but everything that we talk about will be posted.
Yeah.
One thing that I find really fascinating about your artwork is your use of sunlight as a way to show like a whole variety of things. Is that something that you have always done? And how do you choose, say, like in permeating mass, where there is this horrible thing creeping up on the sky and the sunlight is in certain ways in the background? How do you decide on where to place it? What is the process behind that?
I mean, I usually end up putting the sun behind the character, which is a very common and effective tool for making a good looking scene. Things that are backlit look good, because you have that, you have like the soft ambient light of the sky. That's what you see on their face, right? And then you have a strong edge light, which helps define the. It really helps to separate the character from the background. It makes it easy. Plus, it lends itself to atmospheric effects. If the sun is in the background, that means things that are in the distance are getting a lot lighter, and things that are closer to the camera are darker, which is a very common and effective way of creating depth. So really putting the sun behind the character is just a practical choice, and now that I use 3D, I've been doing that for years now. You build something and you can put the sun wherever you want, and I always end up putting it behind the character. And I've actually been consciously trying not to do that.
Oh yeah,
but,
is that so?
Yeah, just because I want to vary things up a little bit. Yeah.
Right. One ththing too, also that I've noticed is that your blood is very much a recurring theme in your pieces. Which, I mean, a lot of times with magic, they're not as violent as they should be. And yours certainly do not veer away from that. Is that something that has? I mean, is that something you've had pullback against, or do you have to fight to get that in there?
I've never had to fight. I mean, I know obviously Tragic Lesson has a lot of blood. What other pieces have blood?
The one where the guy's getting the knife rammed through his arm. There's like a spurt of it, and then there's sort of like hidden blood, like in a thirsting bloodlord, where you don't see it in the card maybe as easily, but when you see your version of it, there are the handprints of the somebody trying to escape.
Right. That was they asked for that. In Thirsting Bloodlord, they asked for the handprints, and I should have made them more prominent, obviously, because you can't really see them on the card. But
did they also ask for the handprints with the angel that had with the curtains and the blood prints on the curtains in that one as well?
I don't remember the art description on that one, but I wouldn't be surprised. They usually do what they ask.
So you are the blood guy, it seems like.
People really like the blood I did in Tragic Lesson. And I remember reading comments like people talking about, "Damn, that's a lot of blood," and a crazy deal of blood.
And you made it sort of look ethereal. I mean, it looks like it's got different shades to it, I guess, because it's god blood or whatnot.
Or just, I wasn't trying to make it look like god blood. I went on the internet and looked at pools of blood, the images of pools of blood, and that's why you see like streaks of bright red flowing through it, because that's sometimes what pools of like fresh blood look like. Is you get that's like the oxygenated blood, and at least that's my understanding. So I looked at just images of war and blood soaking into pavement and stuff like that. I really spent a lot of time on that one, researching blood and researching, trying to get it to look very trying to get the blood to look like it's behaving like real blood would. The only difference is that they asked for me to somehow indicate that there was poison in the blood because he was stung by the scorpion god. So when you see like there's like yellow in it, that's supposed to be the poison. That's supposed to be the poison. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was seeing. Okay, so that yeah, there we go. That would make sense because it's that you can see where the stinger got him.
Yeah.
When you say I read that you said that Kozilek's Collector was your first one that was displayed in package. What does that mean?
I actually have it right here.
Really?
In this drawer, yeah. That's
I gotcha. Yeah. Okay, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it was
first and last one.
So. The Eldrazi's, like for instance, like your Deep Fathom Skulker, that thing is just creepy. I mean, creepy. What animals did you use to base off of that? I mean, is there a specific animal that you used to get the inspiration from it?
Probably the tail is like probably from a moray eel or something. And the rest of it is just it's almost like a mermaid. I mean, it's a humanoid upper body with arms and creepy hands. And then a long tail that I got off a moray eel or something.
That must have been it. Okay, yeah, because the moray eels are they're dangerous looking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're very creepy and nasty looking. Yeah.
And in one piece, I think that one of the things that it unfortunately didn't make it into the base of the card was the boneyard that was at the base of the piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something? Because I remember reading you saying something about how sometimes having too many choices with digital makes it so you sort of like do little things that you maybe like overdo it or not overdo it, but instead it's like add flourishes where flourishes aren't going to be necessary. Is that what you were talking about?
Was I talking about like the bones?
You were not specifically Deep Fathom, just digital painting in general. How you when you moved to traditional, it made you stick with what you were with.
Yeah, because digital gives you sort of a lot of freedom, and using 3D tools gives you even more freedom, and it can be paralyzing because you can't make up your mind. But in order to change something in a traditional painting, you have to redo the whole painting. If you want to move something over an inch, you have to redo the whole thing, and you're way less likely to do that. And frankly, that's better. It's better because it's almost never necessary to move it over an inch, or rotate it, 2 degrees and then re-render it. But at the time, you feel like it is necessary. What was the question?
Oh, the question was just like, we were talking about decision paralysis and all that. So I was wondering if that's what you meant. And it seems like that is sort of where it was going.
Yes. Yeah, that is what I meant.
What's going on with Blood Mist though? It's great, but I couldn't figure out something being destroyed on the side and what is the.
That one's a little more like there's a little more artistic liberty with that one. It's a little less literal.
Mm-hmm.
They were just like have someone angry looking, and then have them surrounded by a cloud of blood or something. That was years ago. I think that was basically the art description. So it's not meant to be any literal explosion or anything. It's more, there's more artistic license taken there. And I referenced there's a Hindu holiday called Holi, I think it's called, or Holi or Holy, where they throw powder at each other.
Oh yeah.
And there's some awesome pictures of people throwing red powder, and that's what I referenced in the.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's actually that now thinking of that makes sense. With a spatial contortion, what did the brief look like on that? Because there's 2 versions of it and they're both like brutal, but how did you choose that angle and do you think that he's alive, and what do you think happened?
What was the brief? I don't even remember. I mean, it was what?
Oh, because I'm thinking like, okay, it's spatial contortion. That could be a very specific brief, or it could be a very open brief because of the way it's set up.
I seem to remember the brief being sort of exactly, or show someone being stretched out in sort of an impossible way, like they're going through a black hole or something. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if that's what it said, but typically I follow the briefs pretty closely. I think it said like show someone being stretched out in an impossible way.
How do you get that angle then? How do you decide that you're going to be like from the ground and looking at the sky, and then it's sort of like watching it happen?
How did I decide upon that? Oh, I think the brief said show his top half being slammed into the ground. I think that was in the brief. I can just look up the damn brief if you want. It's probably still in my email.
It's funny.
Torsion. Let's see here. Torsion. Maybe I actually might not. And it's probably not here. But anyways, I do remember them saying have the guy being slammed into the ground. So how did I decide on that angle?
Because you do have some really cool cinematic angles, like there's some like for instance the one behind me and that one as well. Like you tend to go for very creative, almost sometimes top down or bottom up, really cinematic.
Bottom up is another effective way to make stuff look cool. You put the camera lower and it makes your characters look more epic.
Do you do photography by chance?
Well, I'm not a photographer, but I use photo reference heavily.
Okay. Because I just wondered, because I mean, obviously you understand chiaroscuro, but it was almost like some of the way that your pieces, if they were done in black and white, they would have that same contrast that is necessary for like really good black and white photos. So I just wondered if maybe you had to start in doing photography yourself, because you have a very much of a photographer's eye for in your artwork than I'd say other people do.
I do use photographs heavily, and sometimes I sort of start with the photograph. Like if I have to draw a character, I'll start by setting up a camera and taking pictures of myself and trying out different poses until something pops.
Yeah, and I know that you had said that you use your wife for a lot of the female references.
That's true.
I've seen the pictures of her, and you can see in the faces of some of the characters. There's definitely an inspiration there. What inspired your Barbarians painting? That's a pretty intense one, and that was one of your personal pieces. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, that one was, I was doing a little presentation at Mattel, and I needed to do an illustration. I had started one, I seem to remember, and I wasn't liking how it was coming out. I don't remember it at all, but I remember I was like, oh, I have a few days to finish this. So, I just went for a very basic composition. Here's the hero, just sky behind him, so there's a lot of contrast, and then heads in the foreground, getting closer to the camera. So I can. It's always nice when you have objects that you can put right in front of the camera, so you can create a lot of depth. So that was probably me thinking of like, how can I come up with something to logically put right in front of the camera, and so I had that army at his feet in the front of the camera, and on top of that, what inspired it? I don't know. I just drew off the top of my head and came up with stuff, and then referenced it all.
It was it's a very striking, and that was the one you used for a Mattel presentation.
Yeah, it was like because they'll have like people with skills give presentations to other workers, and it's like a team building type thing, So my skill was illustration, and I created that illustration, and
Yeah, I'd imagine it elicited some reactions, I bet, when you showed it.
Yeah, I think people liked it.
I mean, it's definitely it's hardcore for sure. One of the also things that I noticed about your pieces too, or like, is that I'm curious as to how you go in any artist, how they go from the sort of the sketch phase to the main phase. Like with Golos, for instance, he started out having eyes, and then he doesn't. And when did you decide not to? I'm curious about that.
I think they probably told me to remove the eyes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then also, like, for instance, let me see here. One of the things that you had said that I find interesting is you try to avoid symmetry in your paintings, and this was in specific connection to the vampire token that you did with, and I'm going to mess it up, but the metal etching, what was it called again?
Okay, the laser cut tokens.
Yeah, like that's insane. I mean, like, first of all, like, how did you even get into that? But why do you avoid symmetry, do you think?
Um, I don't know. I think it just seems like it's less interesting or something, or like maybe sort of. I mean, I don't want to put down symmetry because it is effective, but it's if you make things symmetrical, they sort of automatically look okay.
Hmm.
So it's less of a challenge, and I'm impressed by pieces that you would expect to be symmetrical, but then the artist um, comes up with a more creative way to create the composition where it's like it has a symmetrical base, but then there's an asymmetrical layer on top of it. Like Muka is, Muka.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at his posters, it'll be a girl usually, and there will often be some sort of decorative design behind her. The decorative design is oftentimes symmetrical, but then the girl is sort of lounging off to one side, and there's like maybe some wispy smoke filling the other side, or a tree filling the other side, or something, and it all works together very cohesively, and it's sort of um, it's almost like a trick or something. It's like a neat trick. Like you expect it to be symmetrical, you want it to be symmetrical. It's not symmetrical, but it looks better for it.
It sort of plays with your expectations a little bit.
Yeah. Um, I guess I tried to do that with Phyrexian scriptures.
Yes, there definitely is that. I was going to say that was one that I was thinking of because it seems like it almost is symmetrical, but it isn't.
Yeah, it is symmetrical, but it isn't exactly.
And
With the
that's
hand.
one. And that's one of the analog pieces that you did, or analog, sorry, traditional pieces.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
think
yeah.
analog that's it's still okay term, I guess, because.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you ever think that you would consider doing a remake of any of your digital pieces? Because I mean, congratulations on what your stuff goes for. It's awesome. Is that something you could see yourself doing for maybe a specific piece you've done digitally?
I mean, I certainly don't have any plans for that right now. I'm just way too busy.
Right.
You know, maybe I I don't have any plans for it, and it does not sound fun. And it doesn't. I can't really see myself doing that, but I'll never say never. I mean, it's possible because I know sometimes those. I guess artists do that and then sell them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't have any plans to do that.
So we are almost done, and I will let you get about your busy day. But what was the what would be some artists that you have, like, besides the one you just listed, that you have seen that inspire you, either from historical standpoints or from the game itself, other artists that you work with?
Historically, Luca. Who else? John Singer Sargent.
Mm-hmm.
If I could paint like him, I would be happy. I think he's one of the greatest painters of all time. So, and I look to him a lot for ideas for compositions because his compositions are incredible. Um, so John Singer Sargent, and then like I used to love, well, I do love Jerome, um, and No, I don't know. And then in terms of current artists
Hmm.
who I think are great, I really like Richard Wright. He's probably my favorite Magic artist
Hmm.
working, because his compositions are fantastic, and his art's very simple. It's like deceptively simple. He doesn't. There's no needless embellishments. It's clean.
Mm.
I really like that. Richard Wright. Ryan Pancoast is awesome. Who else? Chase Stone. Who else? I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I understand. And again, I do appreciate you taking the time to do this today. So, if there is anything, just the last question is, are you currently working on anything for upcoming sets for Magic? And is there anything that you are doing that you would like to promote that is happening with you now?
I am working on cards for upcoming sets.
Awesome.
I'm super behind, as always. But I am working on cards for sets. And I plan on doing a Kickstarter. I plan on doing 10 more tokens.
Nice.
They won't be laser marked tokens. There'll be something different. Something I don't have to make myself by hand.
Was that a learning curve?
Yeah. That was like one of the dumbest things I ever did.
You're like, why did I do this? Why did I dedicate myself to like I've done that before where you're like, wow, yeah. I could have simplified that so much more.
I knew it was a bad idea when I did it. I knew it. I was like, no one makes money making things by hand.
By hand, like yeah.
No one. But I wanted to do it. It seemed fun, and it was fun, and I'm glad I did it. And I did end up with, creating like 700 of these handmade.
Wow.
Cool little tokens that people seem to like, and I'm proud of them, but they took way longer than I wanted them to, and it created a lot of anxiety for me.
I bet. Like, thinking about that, I didn't realize that. I'm like, oh my God, 700 by hand. Like, you must have been like through the roof. But I will congratulate you on the fact that you made a male angel, which there's not a lot of them in Magic. And I know it's really? Not technically Magic, but in the history of the game, I think there's 2 of them.
Really? I didn't even know that.
And one of them is, it looks like maybe their face got run over by a truck or something, because it is not a good looking angel. So there's no there's no angels that are like, I guess, desirable in the sense that they're not good cards or they're not attractive. So, yeah. But yeah, your angel's pretty awesome. I saw that. I was like, wow, a male angel. And who would have thought? Because traditionally they were, I believe, or at least they appeared to be as males in the historical, in the biblical sense.
I mean, I was going for like a Michael the Archangel look, you know what I mean? So it never occurred to me that I was doing anything extraordinary.
Yeah,
I was doing something very normal.
Yeah, you were going against the grain, and you were like, I had no idea. So
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you again for taking the time today, and I thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day.
Seriously, I got to give Joseph props for even taking that interview. Parenthood is not an easy gig. I couldn't do it. Productivity and responsibility prevents laziness, and laziness is what I'm known for. Speaking of, that's enough work for now. My coffin's calling me. So remember to enter the contest, which you can see at the bottom of the video. And until next time, I got a scoop.